No, I'm not clearing that sample. $40,000 to clear the sample. I'm not clearing the sample. Sample clearance has ruined a lot of people's lives. I remember my very first placement ever had a sample in it. My pre-sample split was 50%. I owned 50% of a track that was on a #1 platinum selling album. I was so excited. Again, it was my first placement. I didn't understand. Please forgive me. I looked at that contract and saw that 50% number, and I was on cloud 9 until I realized that that was the pre-sample split, not the post-sample split. Since that point, damn near every artist that I sampled, with the exception of Timbaland — I didn't sample Timbaland, but it was an interpolation — has taken 100% of my equity as a producer. So it's no wonder why I started making my own samples and working with musicians to form sample making collectives. But a rapper, a famous rapper, Finesse 2 Times, is going through some shit with sample clearance right now. He is trying to clear an iconic hip hop track, a Notorious BIG record, Notorious Thugs featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony. And apparently they are trying to charge him $40,000 for sample clearance, which honestly makes sense. I mean, that it's a big song. It's the Notorious Big's estate. $40,000, yeah, I could have guessed that. And I have a lot of questions. For example, #1, why is Finesse 2 Times clearing the sample himself when he's signed to a JV deal with Atlantic Records and Jay Prince? Wouldn't they be handling that? The other question too is, I guess Finesse 2 Times is calling out Bone Thugs and Harmony. I just don't understand that. Lazy Bone was like, wait, that doesn't have anything to do with us. That track is owned by the Bad Boy label. That's their master. Oh, actually, Lazy Bone said something else about drugs. Never mind. So it got ugly. I haven't done this in a while. Here's the chart. I'm going to make this quick. When you sample something directly, you are sampling both copyrights. Every piece of recorded music comes with 2 copyrights. So you have to clear both sides, and both sides have different owners. So the master recording, in the case of Notorious Thugs, the master recording is owned by Bad Boy Records. Labels own masters. That's their revenue model. They buy masters, they own them, they exploit them. That's how they make their money. So you would have to clear the master side with the label, but then on the composition side, you have to deal with everyone who wrote that track. So the producers, and I believe there's more than one, obviously Notorious Big, rest in pieces on that, and then Bone Thugs and Harmony as well. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different entities that you would have to clear this with. And it's not just their writers, it's their publishers. So it could be 6 writers and 6 publishers. That's 12 entities that you would have to clear that with. So it gets frustrating. No wonder it cost $40,000. This is an iconic song. That album went diamond. So naturally, we had to talk about it. Here's what we came up with.
I'm not that familiar with Finesse 2 Times. Like, I've seen this stuff. I know that he was part of some controversy or drama recently. I don't know what it was about, though.
Isn't it him versus Moneybagg Yo?
No idea.
Yeah,
but okay. So
with Moneybagg Yo, but I don't know. So Finesse 2 Times was trying to get clearance on a record that sampled. And I'm not sure. So this is where my ignorance comes in. I'm not sure if he was just trying to rap over the beat and then release it commercially, or if a producer flipped the Notorious Thug sample and he wanted to get clearance for that. And Finesse 2 Times is upset that, I guess, the sample clearance is $40,000, and the Rich Life of JR says, rappers be so rich when it's time to see Johnny Dang, but not when it's time to put in towards their craft.
I'm assuming Johnny Dang is a jeweler.
Yeah. You don't know who Johnny Dang is?
Nah. Who is the cat that was Ben
Baller?
Yeah, that's what.
Johnny Dang is like the Houston jeweler. I want to say that Mexican OT has a song called Johnny Dang, actually.
Okay. I wouldn't have paid $40,000 to clear. Like, just make another song. Like songs don't. I mean, unless it's a guaranteed hit, which you really can't guarantee. I think you get into these situations when you make the song and then try to negotiate, or put it out. I'm assuming the song was out, or did he not?
I don't think
put it
the
out?
Song was out. No.
Okay, so he did try to negotiate before.
Yeah. And also it said from Traps and Trunks reports, Finesse 2 Times says he sampled the Bone Thugs and Harmony record. I don't think we've heard it. And when his label went to get it cleared, Bone allegedly told him it would cost $40,000. So this is something that that the label would be handling. So it's not coming out of his pocket. That's why like the Johnny Dang line is funny, but it
is coming out of his pocket though. I mean, out of his
it's coming out of his it's coming out of his budget, and it's being recouped against what he makes.
Right. I mean, so to recoup 40,000 is going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of streams,
especially with the way label recoupment math works.
You have to, like, if you're an artist, you have to be careful about who negotiates for you. You know, I've said this several times on this podcast. Like, a lot of times I would just have the Funk Volume guys like sort it out, because typically if they were talking to the producer or the other artist or whatever, they want to keep that relationship, so they're not going to throw out some crazy number. But if a label goes to whoever they're negotiating with, they're saying, "Oh, that's a label. They got bread." They're not even really they're not even thinking about that being the artist's money. They're thinking about it being the label's money, right? So they're trying to get as much bread as possible. So think about that too, not just in negotiation, but who's in the room negotiating. And he said Bone asked for 40,000. I don't even know if Bone knew the negotiation was going on. I don't know who received on their side or who administers their copyrights. Like, I know that blame is gonna fall on Bone, but they might not even have known that they reached out.
Well, that's the big point of controversy in all this, aside from the money, is that Bone is saying, nah, this has nothing to do with us. This, number one, it came out on Bad Boy. We're not on Bad Boy. Number two, you got to negotiate with Big's estate. There are a lot of different people involved in this. There are multiple writers, multiple publishers, at least one label, an estate, because, you know, the main artist is deceased. So that becomes kind of crazy. And I'm going to say something nuts, but 40,000 is pretty low. I mean, I would have guessed they would have wanted more for that song, given the circumstances. You know, I've talked about a situation where we were sought out, my team, to create an entirely new sample. Now, this is different, because if you want to sample Notorious Thugs, you want to sample it because of what it is, not necessarily because of how it sounds, even though it's a great beat. You want to sample it to reference Notorious Thugs. You don't want to sample it because it's like, oh, I like that piano, I just want to flip it. No, you want people to know exactly what you're referencing. You know what I mean? Like the Kanye Through the Wire. He could have used any other sample or whatever, and it wouldn't have been the same. So you specifically want this. But if that's not the case, there was a situation with a very obscure band, and some fintech dudes invested and bought out a catalog, and they wanted $80,000 to clear that. And they're like, well, the song's not coming out. We're not paying $80,000. So they just got us to make a new sample for it, and it worked out. Something else that's interesting is that I looked it up, and other artists have sampled and cleared Notorious Thugs, so it's not impossible. And the person that did get it cleared was YG, and I feel like YG probably has a bigger budget than Finesse Two Times, but I don't think he has a crazy budget compared to Finesse Two Times. So yeah. I don't know. I think maybe it was one of those things where like he just didn't expect it to be 40,000 because he hadn't dealt with sample clearance in the past.
Yeah. The other thing kind of, I mean, there's a lot of things you should do when negotiating, but you know, and maybe Finesse Two Times team did this, but like make sure that you are respectful and professional. Like as soon as you start getting an attitude about something, like obviously that's not gonna go well for the negotiation. But you know, if there's a solid story behind something, like if you're creating a song and you know your mother just passed away and you want to use a sample from another song, like their mother just passed away, maybe you guys can relate just on the story and you know the pain that you guys are going through. They might be more willing to do it for less, but just be human at the end of the day. You know, in these negotiations, and hopefully
do you remember this
it works. Yeah, don't be mad. Even if at the end of the day, like it's their copyright. Like if they don't want to let you use it, they don't have to let you use it. Like going to social media to complain is not going to be a good look for you.
But it might not even be them. That's the thing.
Right.
So I think like what you're saying is, so in this case, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, but Sonny Girl is calling Sierra old hoe, which is obviously not respectful. You're not helping by laughing, man. But you know, Sierra had a label, and I'm pretty sure that was produced by Jazzy Faye, so he would have to sign off on it. On the writers and his publisher would have to sign off on it. Sierra would have to sign off on it, but ultimately the label is, I think, going to set the main price, because if you're the writer, you're negotiating splits. If you're the label, you're negotiating clearances. Yeah. And so the label would be more, I would think more than likely the culprit in saying no, or at least requesting a large amount of money for the clearance fee. So yeah, I don't know why people target individual artists in these situations where they can't get something cleared. Also, there are agencies like DMG clearances. Just, I don't know. Yeah, try that. Because, yeah, the labels don't care. The labels go try to get they are the label. So if they can negotiate with another label or within their own label, they're going to do that without any regard for where that leaves the artist, because they're making their money regardless. They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not that many independent artists that have to worry about this yet. I know a lot of people are just using samples just without clearing them. I'm not suggesting that. But again, be respectful of people's work, just like you would want people to be respectful of your work. Should you have a song that eventually gets sampled at some point in your career. Yeah. But hopefully you can work it out. Hopefully everything is respectful. You maybe get a decent fee and just get some of the publishing on the song. Don't take all the publishing, like that cat that who was that took all of Kanye's publishing?
Yeah, that whole team. It was those songwriters.
Yeah, they took everything. That's all bad too. But that's what happens in this business.